You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the strength of your systems, and your systems are nothing but your habits dressed in armor. You are not what you believe. You are what you do when no one is watching. Every action, repeated, becomes a path. Every path becomes a wall or a weapon. The shape of your mind is carved by what you allow once and repeat twice. I have seen men defeated not by armies, but by the softness of their rituals. I have watched leaders fall not in battle, but in the mirror, brushing their teeth with indifference, tying their sandals with sloth, allowing dust to settle on their discipline like ash after fire. If a man cannot command his morning, how shall he command a war? The wise do not wait for crises to awaken. They train when there is nothing to fear. For the worst time to sharpen the blade is when it is already drawn. You must understand, repetition is the battlefield of the mind. What you allow yourself to repeat, even in stillness, becomes your shape in motion. If your posture collapses in the silence of your chamber, do not expect it to rise beneath the weight of chaos. If your attention wanders when the world is still, it will flee when the drums of urgency beat against your ears. Habits are the silent architects of character. They are not loud, but they are permanent. Each moment you say, "just this once," you cast a vote for the weaker version of yourself. No tyrant conquers a kingdom in a day. He conquers it by first winning a whisper, then a nod, then obedience. So it is with your daily choices. They do not scream, but they stack. The stack becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. You speak of transformation as if it is forged by thunder, but I tell you, transformation is forged by dust, quiet, patient dust, one grain at a time, one choice layered upon the last. You want victory? Then respect the mundane. You want greatness? Then kneel before the ordinary. A general wins not by brilliance in war, but by discipline in peace. The art of war begins long before the sword is lifted. It begins when the warrior rises with the sun, when he arranges his sandals with care, when he eats not to be full, but to be prepared. The man who cannot rule his appetite will never rule an army. The one who rushes through small duties will be crushed by great ones, and the one who breaks promises to himself will crumble beneath the expectations of others. Your first battlefield is your morning. Win there, again and again, until no part of your mind doubts who is in command. Do not ask if this habit is good or bad. Ask instead, does this move me toward strength or away from it? Does this sharpen my edge or dull my intent? For every habit is a chisel. It is either sculpting discipline or carving excuses. The enemy is not outside. It never was. The enemy is the moment you choose ease over integrity. The moment you reach for comfort rather than clarity. The moment you let the mind slip just for a second and call it harmless. But it is never harmless, because every vote counts, and the mind records them all. Even when you think you've gotten away with it, your discipline remembers. Your resolve keeps score. You become what you repeatedly permit. If you lie to yourself long enough, truth becomes unfamiliar. And when truth becomes unfamiliar, chaos enters silently through the cracks. This is why the wise train, even when no one asks them to. They clean their weapon daily, even if there is no battle. They prepare their mind hourly, even if the world offers only silence. They understand that the most dangerous enemy is the one within, the one who whispers, "Not today," the one who delays, distracts, divides. This enemy is subtle, dressed in comfort, fed by delay. He is not loud, he is patient. But so must you be, more patient, more precise. Do not rush to change your life. Change the rhythm. Change the direction of your repetitions. Lay one clean stone, then another. Do not admire the mountain. Admire the laying of the brick. Admire the stillness in your hand as you return to the same motion each day. Habits are not heroic, but they are sovereign. He who governs his patterns governs his future. When I trained soldiers, I did not test their will with words. I tested their habits, how they rose, how they cleaned, how they stood in formation when no eyes were upon them. For the body obeys the mind, and the mind obeys routine. Break the routine, and the mind rebels. So we shape the routine until the mind conforms, until the body follows without resistance. And then, only then, are you ready to face a war. Not before. It is better to sweat in repetition than to bleed in improvisation, to repeat 1,000 steps until they disappear into instinct. When the storm arrives, you will not have time to wonder who you are. You must already be it. And that is why habits matter. They are the answers you will give when you have no time to think. You call it boring. I call it becoming. You call it tedious. I call it sharpening. For every act you repeat is either training or surrender. Every time you choose the lesser path, you announce to the universe that you are willing to lose. Not loudly, but privately. And that is how the fall begins. In private. But so too, victory begins in private. When you show up for yourself when it is not urgent. When you choose the hard step without applause. When you whisper to yourself, I am not finished, even when the world says, rest. This is the inner edge. This is how men become weapons without drawing them. This is how a name becomes a force. So ask yourself, what is the sum of your repetitions? What do they say about who you are becoming? Because the world does not believe what you say. It believes what you rehearse, and your life is a rehearsal for your legacy. Begin again. Begin sharply. Begin silently. And do not stop. You are not what you say you will become. You are what you train yourself to endure. Your identity is not forged in ambition, but in repetition. It is not desire that carves the warrior. It is obedience to rhythm. If your steps are steady, your soul will follow. If your gaze is anchored, your choices will obey. But let the gaze drift. Let the steps falter, and the mind, even the strongest, will become a traitor. Modern chaos rewards spectacle and speed, but war is won by those who respect tempo, not the loudest, but the most consistent, not the first to act, but the last to break. The one who waits without weakening is the one who wins without fighting. In the realm of habit, this principle holds like iron. You do not need to act with fury. You need to act with precision, again and again, until nothing within you moves out of fear and nothing outside of you alters your course. A habit is not small. It is not innocent. It is a blade you sharpen or let rust. And rust does not care whether you meant to maintain your edge, only that you did not. Do not let the mind negotiate with softness. If it speaks, reply with action. The mind that questions too long has already lost ground. The commander does not ask the army how it feels before giving the order. He commands. So must you command yourself. Each time you rise before the sun, you remind your will who is in control. Each time you delay pleasure, you teach your instincts to kneel. Each time you finish what you started, even when it is tedious, you lay down the brick of identity. And if you repeat this, quietly, ruthlessly, without exception, The day will come when the world will ask, "How did you do it?" But you will know. You did not rise. You were built by votes cast in silence. You want change, but you wait for the fire of motivation. You forget. The fire is not the beginning. The fire is the result. The beginning is cold. It is quiet. It is the decision to act without feeling ready, to show up when your muscles resist, to continue when your thoughts suggest escape. The ones who wait for motivation are slaves. The ones who act without it, they are free, because they are not servants of emotion, but commanders of their time. You cannot negotiate with the future. It only responds to what you do now. And now, you are either writing your readiness or rehearsing your defeat. There is no neutral habit. Each one either serves your strength or betrays it. And the betrayal is slow, like water hollowing a stone. But in time, the stone breaks. So reverse the water. Let your actions hollow out weakness. Let your presence wear away doubt. Let your rituals become unbreakable lines. A general surveys the land before he moves. Survey your day the same. Where are the weak spots? Where does your discipline bend? Where does your attention fall apart? That is your battlefield. Name it. Enter it. Dominate it. You will be tempted to admire the habits of others. Do not. Let admiration turn to architecture. Borrow nothing. Build your own. Build routines so rooted in clarity that even in exhaustion, your body knows what to do. Build them not for comfort, but for clarity. Because when chaos strikes, you will not have time to remember your values. Only your patterns will remain, and they will speak for you, whether you are ready or not. I do not trust the man who speaks of ambition but neglects his rituals. I trust the man who makes his bed like sharpening a sword. I trust the one whose breath calms before the first strike. I trust the one who listens more than he speaks, who acts more than he explains. Because habit is louder than declaration. It is the true voice of your mind. The world moves fast now, but the speed is an illusion. The battle is not with time, but with direction. Many run, but few advance. Many act, but few align. The warrior understands. Speed without aim is surrender. He who hurries without clarity invites defeat. So the habit must first be thought, then rhythm, then instinct, then victory. You think discipline is punishment? No. Discipline is freedom from chaos. Discipline is the doorway to choice. Without it, you obey whatever pulls the hardest. But with it, you shape your own storms. You become the wind, not the leaf. You become the sea, not the driftwood. And those who watch from the shore will call you lucky. Let them. Your edge does not come from their understanding. You will be misunderstood. You will be questioned. You will be told to relax, to slow down, to soften. But do not yield. The edge must be maintained, not explained. The sharpest blade never needs to announce itself. It cuts regardless. So too with your actions. They will reveal you. And if you stay the course, when others fade, when others pivot, when others sleep, you will begin to hear the silence. The silence that only those in command can hear. The silence before the world shifts. The silence of alignment. And in that silence, your next move will become obvious. Because the mind that is quiet becomes the general of thought. So ask again, what habits rule you? What instincts drive you when no one is watching? What are you rehearsing when you think you are resting? Because even in stillness, you are becoming something. And if you do not choose what you are becoming, something else will. Habit is not passive. It is always building. Build consciously. Build with edge, build with restraint, and let the world adapt to your command. The man who disciplines himself needs fewer rules. He does not wait for alarm or permission. His internal code moves faster than external commands. This is mastery, not in performance, but in preparation. The master prepares before the crisis. The amateur prepares only when forced. You must decide which you are, and you must decide every day, not once. If you stumble, rise without commentary. Do not make a story of weakness. The mind loves drama. Ignore it. The path forward is not spoken, it is walked. One foot, one task, one silence at a time. Do not ask, how do I feel? Ask instead, what did I commit to? Feeling is weather. Commitment is stone. Habits are not moved by clouds. Most people live in reaction. Their habits are inherited, not chosen. They mimic what is easy, copy what is popular, repeat what is familiar. But the warrior does not copy. The warrior studies. He observes himself like terrain. He watches the rhythms of his body like the sky before a campaign. He does not seek comfort. He seeks control of breath, of movement, of mind. To begin mastering habit, begin with control of your mornings. Own the first hour. Do not surrender it to noise. Do not open the gate of your mind before your own voice has entered. Set the tone. Shape the rhythm. If you lose the morning, you enter the world in retreat. If you win it, the rest of the day follows your orders. That is not superstition. That is sequence. And once you command the morning, defend the evening. Close the gate with intention. Let the last act of the day be chosen, not accidental. Most people drift into sleep, and they wonder why their dreams are disordered. Finish the day with precision. Even in rest, train your edges. Sleep should be a weapon of recovery, not escape. Let your last thoughts be of structure, not scattering. Then you will rise with force, not fog. I have seen soldiers fail not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked rhythm. Even the strong fall if they are not aligned. And even the quiet man can win if he repeats with clarity. You do not need to be extraordinary. You need to be consistent. Most will not be. That is your advantage. Not talent, not genius, but repetition. Clean, sharp repetition. And yet, repetition without awareness is sleepwalking. The wise refine while they repeat. Each motion is a mirror. Each habit is an inquiry. You do not simply do, you observe. You ask, is this the highest form of the act? Is this action aligned with what I claim to value? Am I moving from strength or from noise? There is a danger in comfort, not because comfort is wrong, but because comfort resists refinement. The man who is mildly satisfied rarely sharpens. He accepts friction. He tolerates waste. He allows drift. The warrior must not drift. Drift is the death of clarity. And clarity is the foundation of command. You are not training for approval. You are training for alignment. The man who lives for applause is vulnerable to silence. But the man who acts from internal necessity cannot be disarmed. He does not fear solitude. He does not need recognition. His reward is execution. And that execution is its own proof. Make your habits unshakable, not because the world will always resist you, but because the world will often tempt you. The path of least resistance is always offered, but it is a trap. It feels like water, but leads to stagnation. The harder path, chosen repeatedly, becomes freedom. Not because it is easy, but because it is earned. Do not measure progress by pleasure. Measure it by clarity. Are you becoming harder to shake? Are your actions becoming simpler, cleaner, more aligned? Then you are advancing, even if it does not feel like triumph. Most victories are quiet. Most growth is unseen. Let that be enough. The weak man requires intensity to act. The strong man requires only rhythm. Let your rhythm be stronger than your moods. Build systems that do not ask how you feel. Build them so that when you wake up tired, the next step is already waiting. The decision has already been made. The friction already removed. That is how you conserve will, not by increasing power, but by removing choice. The more choices you leave open, the more energy you waste. Limit them, cut them, create a sequence so clear that you could follow it in darkness. That is power, not reacting quickly, but needing to react less. Let your habits answer the day for you. Some will say this is rigid. I say this is freedom. Rigid is the man who breaks under pressure. Fluid is the one whose patterns are stronger than pressure. Fluid is not random. It is disciplined response. It is structure so embedded that it can adapt without losing form. Do not fear boredom. Boredom is the gatekeeper of power. Push through it. It is the test. Most turn back. You must not. Push through boredom until you reach precision. Then push further, until your craft becomes so sharp it cuts without effort. That is where greatness begins. Past the boredom, most never pass. Let others chase novelty. You chase refinement. Let others seek variety. You seek depth. Depth is not achieved by change. Depth is achieved by stillness, held long enough to become mastery. Stay with the movement until you disappear into it. Then you will know who you are. Because in repetition, the truth emerges. Not the truth you speak, but the truth you live. It is not shouted. It is shown. It is cast in every vote, every morning, every step. Every time you say yes to the edge and no to the ease. You want to change your life? Then change the sentence you repeat to yourself in silence. That is where the campaign begins. The sentence you say in your mind becomes the structure of your future. If that sentence is weak, confused, or fragmented, your path will be the same. Repetition is not merely of action, it is of identity. The warrior repeats strength not only with his hands, but with his voice, even when it is spoken only in thought. And he does not argue with that voice. He obeys it. Do not negotiate with the part of you that resists. Command it. That is what habit is. Command practiced until it no longer wavers. If you allow your mind to question every step, you teach it to disobey. But if you teach it to act without argument, you are forging something greater than will. You are building authority over yourself. That is the highest form of power, to govern your own mind without force, without struggle, without delay. Do not confuse intensity with consistency. Intensity is temporary. Consistency is eternal. One moment of fire can illuminate, but it is the lamp that stays lit that carries you through darkness. So build your flame carefully. Feed it with the wood of repetition. Shield it from the wind of distraction. Tend to it even when it is small, especially when it is small. That is when neglect can kill it. That is when attention is everything. You think greatness is forged in the battlefield. It is not. It is forged when no one is looking, when no reward is near, no recognition is offered, no voice says, "Well done." That is the hour when the self is tested. That is the moment the invisible vote is cast. And though the world cannot see it, the world will feel it. Because every act you repeat becomes a signal, not to them, but to you. And eventually, You will believe your own signal more than your fears. You will believe in your edge, not because others do, but because you have proven it, in silence, again and again. That is what makes a man dangerous. Not words, not volume, but inner certainty, built through ritual, confirmed by action. He becomes predictable only in discipline, but unpredictable in strength. When others panic, he does not. When others quit, he does not. Because he is not relying on how he feels. He is relying on how he has trained. And training does not lie. It is not emotional. It is either present or absent. You either built the edge or you did not. Do not seek balance. Seek alignment. Balance is an illusion, always shifting, always compensating. Alignment is sharper. You do not need to balance chaos and discipline. You need to eliminate the chaotic impulse and replace it with structure. Let every action flow from clarity of aim. Then you will not waste energy fighting yourself. You will direct all power toward execution. And this is the forgotten truth. Power is not in doing more. Power is in doing less, with precision. Remove the waste. Remove the noise. Refuse the unnecessary. Let your schedule speak of your values. Let your movements reflect only what strengthens. Let your time become weaponized, not against others, but against the decay within you. Because if you do not declare war on your own weakness, your weakness will declare war on you. Quietly, but relentlessly. It will offer comfort. It will promise delay. It will whisper that one more exception is harmless. And if you believe it, the rot begins. But you can reverse it, not with willpower alone, but with structure. Replace the weak patterns. Do not fight them. Replace them. This is how the general acts. He does not try to erase the enemy's influence by shouting. He cuts it off. He builds a wall. He changes the terrain. So must you. You want to stop scrolling? Remove the option. You want to focus? Create a boundary. You want to rise earlier? Design the night before it. This is not magic. This is engineering. Design wins when desire fails, and it always will, because desire is a spark. Design is firewood. You must not trust your mood, but you can trust your protocol. That is what habit becomes, a protocol for victory. When the mind is tired, when the world is loud, when resistance is strong, your protocol stands. Your habit speaks. Your preparation answers. This is how the warrior moves through chaos, not with hope, but with design. His blade is not only sharp, it is placed where it can be reached. His steps are not only practiced, they are chosen in advance. And when the moment comes, he does not improvise. He executes. You do not rise to the occasion. You fall to the level of your preparation. You do not transform in crisis. You reveal who you have trained yourself to be. And so, the true battle is not in the moment. It is in the repetition that came before it. You want to lead? Then lead yourself. Show up when you say you will. Speak only what your actions confirm. Let your calendar reflect your values. Let your habits reveal your vision. If you say you want clarity but feed on distraction, you are lying to yourself. And the body knows, the soul knows, and that dissonance will erode you. But alignment is peace. When what you want, what you say, and what you do become the same thing, you are no longer at war with yourself. That is when the world slows. That is when chaos stops shaking you. That is when you walk through fire and leave no ashes behind. Begin there, not with declarations, not with goals. Begin with one act, done again and again until it carves a new groove, until it replaces the old, until your identity no longer argues. Then you will become quiet. Not passive, still. And in stillness, you will see clearly. From there, everything sharpens. Stillness is not the absence of action. It is the absence of noise within action. Most men act while trembling. They move, but not from center. Their habits are scattered, so their strength is scattered. But the warrior trains until stillness remains even in motion. Until the action does not shake him, it reveals him. Stillness comes from habit, not from inspiration. Inspiration is wind. Stillness is architecture. You do not wait for calm. You build it, brick by disciplined brick, until it surrounds you like a fortress no chaos can breach. This is why your rituals matter. Not because they are grand, but because they teach the nervous system to obey clarity. Over and over, until fear becomes a whisper, and doubt becomes dust under your heel. If your life feels chaotic, it is not because the world is chaotic. It is because your structure is weak. You cannot control the world. You are not meant to, but you are meant to master your own alignment within it. A warrior in command does not need the battlefield to be calm. He needs only his breath, his focus, his training, refined by repetition until it becomes identity. Do not seek perfect control of the external. You will never have it. Seek instead inviolable rhythm within the internal. Then the external loses its power. The world will move. Let it. People will judge. Let them. Circumstances will change. Prepare for it. But let your rituals remain. That is your weapon. You will be tempted to redesign your life in a day. Do not. That is not strategy. That is panic. Begin with one behavior. Win there. Not once. Not twice. But until the behavior is no longer behavior, it is character. Then expand. Slowly. Patiently. That is how true change occurs. Not in ambition. In loyalty to a pattern stronger than emotion. Emotions shift. Systems stay. You must become a system. A rhythm. A man in alignment does not ask himself, should I act? He acts. Not as a reaction, but as a reminder. I do not serve the moment. I shape it. When your actions are unstable, you are easily manipulated. By trends, by fear, by praise, by defeat. But when your habits are grounded, even manipulation finds no hold. Because you are not waiting to be moved. You have already moved. You are not asking who you are. You are rehearsing it daily. Rehearsal is the root of power. You cannot become without it. No thought becomes muscle without rehearsal. No plan becomes instinct without rehearsal. And so the man who out-rehearses the world outlasts it. He does not need to speak loudly. His results arrive before his voice. You must be more loyal to your patterns than to your moods. Your moods are temporary. Your patterns are structural. And structure beats emotion every time. When you feel tired, your structure must carry you. When you feel overwhelmed, your structure must stabilize you. When you feel defeated, your structure must remind you. This has been done before. This has been trained for. The world worships novelty. Let them. You worship discipline. The ancient, the timeless, the proven. Because when all else fails, technology, systems, plans, the one thing that remains is repetition. That is the true shield. That is the blade that sharpens without ceasing. You must not be seduced by complexity. Simplicity, sharpened through habit, is deadlier than complexity dressed as intelligence. One movement, trained deeply, will outperform 10 movements done inconsistently. Master the basics until they become rare. The man who builds his life on precision does not need variety. He needs depth. Every time you feel the urge to shift, ask yourself, am I escaping mastery? Am I leaving just before the habit crystallizes? If so, remain. Remain until the boredom breaks. Remain until the pattern becomes effortless. That is where transformation lives, not in newness, but in depth. Most people try too much and finish nothing. Be the opposite. Try little, but finish it entirely. Own it. Let it reshape you, then expand. Like fire consuming one room before spreading, not chaos. Contained burn. Designed destruction of weakness. You do not need to rush. You need to refine. If your habits do not match your vision is fiction. Do not dream with your mouth. Dream with your calendar. Dream with your steps. Let every part of your day testify to what you say you want, or say nothing, because the quiet man who trains is louder than the one who speaks of glory. Even in sleep, the disciplined man wins, not because he acts then, but because he has acted enough. And the body, the mind, the soul, they rest with alignment. No guilt, no noise, only silence earned by structure. And when you rise not as a man beginning again, but as a man continuing what never ended. Discipline does not restart. It continues. It is not bound to hours or days. It is bound to clarity, and clarity transcends time. You are building a self, and the self is not found. It is forged. And forging is not an event. It is a ritual, sharpened over years, invisible to most, but known to you, because you cast the vote, you counted the steps, you wrote the rhythm, and now you live it. This is not about success. It is about sovereignty. You are not training to win the game. You are training to be unshakable regardless of outcome. To know that no matter what happens, gain or loss, love or rejection, victory or defeat, you remain. Because you are built on something stronger than circumstance. You are built on command, self-command, and that no man can take. When you command yourself, you no longer chase control over others. You do not seek dominance. You seek direction. Your power does not depend on obedience from the world. It depends only on your refusal to betray your code. That is the only battle worth winning. The battle to remain unmoved by temptation, delay, and excuse. The man without self-command becomes a slave to environment. He is shaped by weather, shaped by noise, shaped by the eyes of strangers. His mood swings with headlines. His focus breaks with interruption. His goals decay with time. But the one who governs himself needs nothing external to begin. His strength does not rise with the sun. It is the sun. It lights him from within. Each morning is a question. Will you return to your edge, or will you drift? There is no middle. Drift is not neutral. Drift is death in disguise. It moves silently. It wears the mask of comfort. It asks nothing of you except surrender. A little today, a little more tomorrow. Until you wake up surrounded by softness, unsure of where your strength went. To resist drift, anchor yourself. Not to ambition, to action. Not to emotion, to execution. Let your rituals become your compass. Let them whisper your direction even when you are blind. The path is not found through vision. It is found through movement. Repetition is the proof. When you cannot see the outcome, act anyway. That is discipline. And discipline is not waiting for clarity. It creates it. Do not wait to feel worthy of a stronger life. Your worth is not proven by emotion. It is proven by repetition. A man becomes worthy by what he returns to, daily, silently, especially when no one sees, especially when he does not feel like it, especially when his mind begs for ease. You cannot think your way into strength. You must walk your way into it. You must repeat. Without applause. Without shortcuts. Without shortcuts. The edge is found on the far side of monotony. That is where most turn back. That is where you continue. That is why you become different. And as you continue, something shifts. The act you once forced becomes your nature. The resistance fades, not because life is easier, but because you are harder. You are no longer the same man, because you've cast too many votes for the one you wanted to become. And now, that man stands where you once stood. You do not need to declare transformation. You only need to repeat the truth long enough that the old self cannot survive. Let the old self die. Let the version that feared discipline fall away. Let the version that sought ease vanish, and bury it not with ceremony, but with silence. Let the new version speak only through behavior. Words fade, but behavior lingers. Let every habit you keep say something permanent. Let it say, I choose the edge. I choose command. I choose to rise while others excuse. I choose clarity over comfort. I choose the long war over the easy win. You may not see results tomorrow. You may not be recognized next week. But you are not training for applause. You are training for alignment. You are not sculpting for others to admire. You are fortifying for storms to come. Because storms always come. And when they do, you will not be building shelter. You will be the shelter. Let others rush. Let others seek trends. You seek roots. What is rooted cannot be shaken. What is built daily cannot be undone quickly. And what is practiced in silence becomes unshakable in noise. That is the irony of discipline. It looks restrictive, but it delivers freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from weakness. Freedom from being at the mercy of a world you cannot predict. The more you submit to structure, the more power you gain. Because power does not come from chaos. It comes from command. To master command, simplify. Remove everything that fractures your energy. You do not need 10 goals. You need one, repeated until your bones remember. Then you can carry another. Let simplicity sharpen you. Let reduction reveal strength. Cut until what remains is unstoppable. Your life does not need to be louder. It needs to be clearer. And clarity is found not in inspiration, but in consistency. What you repeat becomes who you are. Each action is a vote. Each habit is a declaration. And over time, the vote becomes a verdict. If the verdict is weakness, reverse it. Not with shame, but with rhythm. Shame is noise. Rhythm is correction. Begin again. Repeat again. And do not stop. That is the answer. Not words, not wishes. Action. Without permission. Without pause. When your habits align with your values, peace enters. Not comfort, peace. You will be tired, but proud. You will be challenged, but centered. Because you are no longer chasing motivation. You are serving a code. And that code cannot be bribed. It cannot be tricked. It knows what you repeated. And it gives you only what you've earned. Do not chase outcomes. Chase the system that leads there. Outcomes arrive when the system becomes unbreakable, when the habit becomes identity, when the vote becomes a constitution. And when that constitution is firm, nothing can take it from you. You do not need to predict the future. You need to prepare for it. You do not need to know what storm is coming. You need to become the kind of person who remains unmoved when it arrives. This is not a philosophy. It is a strategy. And strategy without repetition is noise. So you repeat. Not to become rigid, to become ready. The man who repeats sharpens. The man who delays decays. Every moment you postpone action, you feed disorder. You make it stronger. You teach your instincts to ignore command. And once your instincts stop listening, the war is no longer winnable. Because you will be fighting not the world, but your own disobedient mind. Win the internal war. Win it early. Win it in the smallest of moments. When the alarm sounds and the bed is warm. When the schedule is clear and distraction is near. When you feel invisible and no one will know the difference. But you do it anyway. That is when the battle is won. That is when the vote is cast. The world you want will not appear by force. It will appear by frequency, by the precision of your returns. You must become the kind of man who always returns, to the work, to the structure, to the discipline, not perfectly, but relentlessly. If you miss a step, return without excuse. Excuse is how the undisciplined delay their recovery. But you are not seeking pity. You are seeking momentum. Do not argue with the missed day. Do not explain it. Do not decorate it. Erase it with action. The next step, taken immediately, is the sword that cuts regret. And you will regret. That is certain. You will fall short. You will waste time. But the disciplined man knows that failure is not the problem. Delay is. Silence the delay. Return to rhythm. Rhythm forgives. Hesitation does not. To build that rhythm, simplify the battlefield. Remove every unnecessary friction. Prepare the space. Prepare the tools. Prepare the time. You do not need motivation if the environment already guides you. That is strategy. Not to hope for willpower, but to eliminate the need for it. The fewer decisions you leave open, the fewer battles you fight. And the less you fight yourself, the more you conquer everything else. This is what separates the sharp from the scattered. The sharp have less to think about because their path is already laid. And when the path is clear, motion becomes automatic. And when motion is automatic, identity is transformed. You do not need to force your identity to shift. You need only to act as if it has, and act again and again, until your mind catches up to the pattern, until the pattern becomes your presence, until the presence becomes undeniable. Let people question you. Let them misunderstand your quiet. They do not need to know what you are becoming. They will see it when it arrives. And by then, it will be too late to match it, because you've trained when they slept. You've repeated while they hesitated. You've stacked votes while they waited to feel like it. Feelings are not the enemy, but they are not the compass. Let your compass be repetition. Let your guidance be clarity. Let your days be carved not by moods, but by map. And let the map be written by habit. Do not track motivation. Track execution. Track return rate. Not how loud, but how often. Not how hard, but how precise. And over time, you will begin to feel different. Not by magic, but by mathematics. Because identity is not a discovery. It is an accumulation. You accumulate who you are, one action at a time. Even now, you are becoming. Not because of your thoughts, because of what you've done this hour, because of what you'll return to when this ends. That is the edge. That is the difference. Not philosophy, application. The ones who win are not always the ones who know more. They are the ones who repeat better. Knowledge is passive, repetition is active, and action always outweighs intellect when the battle begins. You do not need more knowledge. You need fewer escape routes. You need fewer exceptions. You need a tighter circle of execution, smaller, cleaner, sharper. until the edge you carry within you becomes visible to all. You want change to be noticed, but change is not noticed first. It is felt, quietly, in the way you stand, in the way you say no, in the way you continue when others collapse. They will not understand it at first, because you will not explain it. You will simply be it. Let them ask later. Let them wonder what happened. You will know you built it, vote by vote, habit by habit, ritual by ritual. And it never came all at once. It came with silence, with structure, with sharp repetition over time. That is what it means to become. You become by aligning your actions with your aim. You become by subtracting distraction, by refining movement, by honoring the discipline when it is least convenient. Especially then, convenience is not your ally, it is your test. Anything that is too easy has not yet been refined. Anything that offers no resistance cannot build strength. Do not seek convenience, seek clarity, and let the weight of repetition forge your edge. The edge is not born in ease. It is born when you continue through inconvenience, continue through doubt, continue without noise or celebration. You will feel invisible. Let that become your training ground. Those who need to be seen are never truly in control. But the one who trains unseen is the one who acts without needing confirmation. And that man cannot be stopped because his source is internal. He is not dependent on admiration. He does not weaken when misunderstood. His path is carved in silence, his discipline unshaken by the world's delay in recognition. The man who needs proof before persistence will never build anything lasting, because the deepest structures are built long before they are visible, and once they appear above ground, they are too late to be undone. Let your habits be roots. Let your practice grow deep before it grows tall. And when the storm comes, you will not bend, because you did not chase the sky. You anchored yourself in the ground. It is not more speed you need. It is more stillness. It is not more productivity. It is more presence. Your output will multiply when your habits align. You will move faster because your direction is no longer in question. You will feel lighter because your day is no longer filled with friction. And you will speak less because your results will speak for you. Do not confuse noise for momentum. The loudest man is often the most lost. True motion is often silent. It looks like the same day, repeated without complaint. But inside, the transformation is volcanic. Identity is shifting. Resistance is dissolving. Power is accumulating. And when it finally emerges, it does so without asking permission. Ask yourself, what are you accumulating? Every repeated behavior leaves a mark. On the brain, on the body, on the self, and the marks become instructions. The more often you follow a pattern, the easier it becomes. That is the blessing and the curse of the human system. It does not discriminate. It does not ask if the habit is noble. It only asks, is this repeated? If so, it becomes easier, and eventually, automatic. So train deliberately, because automation will come. You will eventually default to what you rehearse. You will act without thinking. And when that happens, what will your default say about you? Will it reveal focus or chaos? Will it reveal sharpness or erosion? The battle is not to act once. The battle is to train yourself to act well without needing to think. That is the final form of mastery, instinct forged in repetition. So clean, so practiced, that you do not decide, you execute, not from impulse, but from design. And yet, design takes effort. Most will avoid it. Most will drift, claiming they are waiting for the right time. But the time never comes. There is no right moment. There is only this one. And what you repeat now is what you become later. That truth does not wait. You can reverse your direction. You can reforge your instinct, but not with intensity, with ritual, with the small, repeated action done with attention, not as performance, as correction, not for applause, for alignment. And if you do this daily, you will not need to hope for growth. Growth will happen without your permission, because you are no longer trying. You are becoming. The man who becomes is not loud. He does not post his transformation. He does not need to. His presence shifts the room. His steadiness calms the chaos. His silence says what his habits confirm. I do not need to prove it. I have lived it. You want to inspire? Then become undeniable. Let your repetition be so relentless that no one can question who you are. Not even you. Especially not you. The world will only believe it once you do. And belief is not built by speech. It is built by showing up. Repeatedly. Especially when it's hard. The man who shows up only when it's easy is a visitor in his own identity. He wears discipline like a costume. But the man who shows up when it's hard, who keeps his rhythm when there's no applause, who honors the habit in pain, in silence, in fatigue, that man becomes his discipline. He wears it not like armor, but like skin. It does not come off. It does not weaken with rain. It is him. This is the purpose of the vote, not to perform, to become. Each act is a ballot cast. Each repetition is a decision. Will I become the architect of my life, or will I drift into weakness disguised as comfort? You cannot avoid the decision. You are making it with every step. Even now, as you listen, the vote is being cast. Toward presence or toward delay. Toward order or toward drift. Toward becoming or remaining. Do not postpone the choice. Every moment you wait, the weaker path wins. The longer you delay, the louder the lie becomes. But one act in alignment can reverse the decay. One sharp movement, done again and again, can rebuild the structure. Begin there. Begin not with fireworks, but with footsteps. Begin not with vision, but with action. You do not need to feel ready. You need only to begin with precision. The mind will catch up once the repetition begins. The body will obey once the rhythm returns. And once rhythm is restored, momentum becomes inevitable. Let your focus narrow. Let it become so exact that distraction cannot enter. You are not here to do everything. You are here to do the right thing again and again until it becomes the only thing. And the right thing is simple. Return to what sharpens you. Return to what strengthens you. Return to the vote that builds who you are, not who the world wants you to pretend to be. Each morning is a ceremony, not one of noise or drama, but of structure. When you rise, you are not waking up. You are recommitting. You are remembering your code. And if that code is strong, your day cannot betray you, even when it stings, even when it fails. Because failure, when met with repetition, becomes fuel. Only when met with excuse does it become poison. And so you must welcome failure, not as defeat, but as a mirror. The habits that endure beyond failure are the ones that build invincibility. The ones that collapse after failure were never habits. They were hope dressed in ritual. You must not rely on hope. You must rely on rhythm. You must build habits that do not bend when you are broken. This is how the warrior remains still in the storm. He does not guess. He remembers. He remembers who he is because he has rehearsed it too many times to forget. You must become that. A man who cannot be made to forget what he has repeated in blood and silence. If you must pause, pause, but do not stop. If you must rest, rest with precision. Rest with intention. Let even your pauses be chosen, not stolen. Let them serve your clarity, not your fear. Rest is part of the strategy, but only when it is earned, and only when it strengthens return. Most men avoid discipline because they have never tasted what lies beyond the wall of repetition. They quit before the breakthrough. They leave before the rhythm begins to sing. But you must stay. Stay long enough to reach silence. Stay long enough that your work no longer feels like labor, but like alignment. That is the edge. That is where identity is no longer something you chase. It is something you wear. And once you wear it, you do not need to explain it. You move differently. You speak with fewer words. You enter rooms without needing to be seen, because your structure carries its own presence. That is what habits become. Silent proof of self-command, of integrity, of danger. Because the disciplined man, the truly disciplined man, is dangerous, not to others, but to weakness. Weakness cannot breathe in his presence. Excuse cannot grow in his shadow, because he has built something more powerful than motivation. He has built a constitution, and it cannot be overthrown by opinion, fatigue, or trend. Ask yourself now, what do your habits worship? Do they worship ease or excellence? Do they reinforce your strength or comfort your mediocrity? You cannot serve both. You must choose. And you choose not once. You choose daily, hourly, even in seconds. Because each habit is a sermon. Each repetition is a prayer to the self you believe you are. And belief is not a thought. Belief is a pattern. It is what you do when things go quiet. It is how you move when no one watches. It is the choice you make when the result is distant and the voice of comfort is near. Your belief becomes your discipline or your decline. You cannot fake this, not forever. The world may fall for words, but the body keeps score. The results arrive in silence, and they do not care how noble your intentions were. They respond only to what was repeated. So repeat wisely, repeat strategically. Let every repetition be a strike. Let every pattern be part of the plan. And let the plan be so simple, so repeatable, that even on your worst day, you do not drift, you do not spiral, you do not disappear. You return, quietly, sharply, unapologetically. And the return is everything. That is what separates the momentary from the enduring, the talented from the trained, the spark from the sun. Talent flickers. Training burns. Be the burn. Be the one who remains. Not because he never fell, but because he always returned. That is the habit that outlasts time. That is the identity that does not fracture under pressure. And that is how the battle is won, not in noise, but in rhythm. Rhythm is the final master. You will forget your goals. You will forget your reasons. You will even forget your pain. But rhythm will remain. If you build it well, it will move you when you can no longer move yourself. It will carry you across the dark hours where others collapse. It will whisper your truth when the world offers confusion. This is what I leave you. Not inspiration, not comfort, but rhythm. Because rhythm never lies, and the man who obeys his rhythm is never lost. He may fall, he may bleed, but he is never lost. Because even in defeat, he moves forward. Even in doubt, he acts. Even in silence, he sharpens. You will not need to ask where you are going if your steps are true. The direction is carved by the act, and the act is forged in the vote, and the vote is cast every single time you repeat. So build your rhythm with clarity, with intention, with finality. Let no choice be small. Let no action be random, because nothing repeated is ever small. Every pattern becomes part of your fabric, and the fabric becomes armor, or it becomes chains. You decide. Even in sleep, even in stillness, your habits breathe. They do not rest. They continue building. The question is, what are they building? The answer is written in your rituals. If they are sharp, you will become sharp. If they are scattered, you will break. Do not be surprised by who you become. You were building him all along. And when the moment arrives, the real moment, the test that does not wait for preparation, you will not reach for a speech. You will not reach for a plan. You will reach for your habits, and they will answer for you. You will not think. You will not doubt. You will execute. Because execution is what you've practiced. Execution is what you've become. The enemy will not understand your stillness. The world will not understand your refusal to drift. Let them wonder. You are not here to be understood. You are here to become undeniable. And when that becoming is complete, you will need no defense. Your presence will explain everything. Your silence will be louder than noise. Your focus will shatter distraction. Your rhythm will drown out resistance. Do not stop. Do not soften. Do not surrender to the weaker version of yourself, the one you are no longer voting for. Let him fade. Let him die. You are not obligated to carry who you used to be. You are only obligated to repeat the truth, until the truth is the only thing left. You are not chasing greatness. You are chasing the vote. One vote, then another, until the structure is complete, until the discipline becomes breath, until the question disappears, and only one answer remains. This is who I am. Because this is what I repeat. I am Sun Tzu, and I tell you now, every habit casts a vote for who you become. So cast carefully, repeat deliberately, and become the one no enemy can touch, not because of what you feel, but because of what you've trained. Return to the repetition, return to the rhythm, and leave no doubt behind.